Hi, I am Paul Brodie. This is my shop. Welcome. I was on Facebook recently and I discovered that we have a situation locally anyway. We have a shortage of brake boosters, ubrake boosters. I know that no one else except me is going to fix that problem right now anyway, so that's our mission today. I have metal, we have metal, and I have laid out a couple here. We're going to do a very small run. I was in my shop yesterday. I made up a fixture. This is the fixture that's going to get used on the lathe and the mill to make ubrake boosters, and you will see how that works a little bit later. So the first step is to drill 4 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And these holes are at the very end of the slots. So let's head over to the mill and mark out some holes. What I've done is, I got a red felt pen, I marked a circle there, because if I just go off the slot like that, it's hard to know if I'm in the middle of the radius on the end. When I mark a circle, I'm going to the middle of the circle. There you go. In 1988, I was making brake boosters, and this is basically how I was making them. I'd used a fixture, the lathe, and the mill, and then we hired a consultant, and he says, "You're doing all that by hand, basically. You need a CNC." So that's when we got CNC. Up until then, I had no contact with CNC shops. So what I'm showing you now is how I used to make brake boosters back in '88. Over 30 years ago. This is what I did. So this is the 6mm hole. Okay, now we go back to the mill. Let's go here. It's not a very long walk at all. I'm going to use this little end mill. This is a 3/16 end mill. Can you see how it's smaller? Can you see how there's space there? See how I can rock it back and forth? What I'm going to do is I'll take a cut right down the middle. It'll join those 2 holes, make a slot, and then I'll go up one side, and then I'll go over and down the other side, and I'll have a nice 6mm slot. That's a pretty nice slot. I confess, I was in my shop yesterday. I made 8 more yesterday. So now we have a total of 10. We're doing a run of 10. So I've drilled 2 holes here, and I'm gonna put the bolt, the Allen screw through, and the Allen screw goes at the very far edge. And so we're gonna bolt these down, and then we're going to machine them all at the same time. That's the plan. So let's see how this works out. Our first step on the lathe is to do the outer radius. It's going to be an interrupted cut, because halfway there's going to be nothing, and then it's going to cut. So we'll do the outside cut, and then I'll take off this piece of round stock, and we'll hold this in the mill vise, and we'll use a cutter on the inside. That's the plan. I can still see my felt pen mark on the outside, so I've got a little bit more to go. Maybe another, I'm going to say 50 thou. I'm taking cuts of half that, a 25 thou cut. That's how much metal is being removed at a time. Okay, that's all the machining and the lathe, so we'll take this off. Now we'll go to the mill. Can you see how that's basically on the line? Now I bring it over to this side. That's on the line. So that's, I think that's close enough to start, and I can make adjustments as I go. All right, that's going to be good. So I've got the tool right out to the line. I need to back it in just a little bit because I don't want to take that big of a cut right off the bat. If I turn this half a turn, that's a 50 thou cut. There we go, I'll get 50 thou cut. If I just go off the felt pen, that's not very accurate. So what I want to do is to measure somewhere around there. It's kind of hard because this is on a taper, but I can get an idea. Call that 0, and then go to this side. And this side is less, 50 thou less. Because if I lock that, see it doesn't go in there? So this side is 50 thou less, so I'm going to move everything over there half that. I'll go 25 thou. So handy having a digital readout. There we go. All right. See that? It's a carbide end mill, and the end is a bit worn, but it's got the flutes long enough that it's gonna make a nice cut there. It's taking a small cut. I'm Klein milling going this way. It's going to make a smoother finish. That's what the end mill's done. It's made that smooth, but there's still a little bit there, so I got another 15 thou to take off. I think that's about as good as we can get. I want to drill some holes to add some lightness, so what I'm going to do is to bolt this existing booster that I have on top of these, and then I'll start the holes. That's what I'll do. Wow. Almost looks like I know what I'm doing. That's not bad. This one's CNC, and these are all manual, and you can see how it matches up. That's a little fender hole in the middle, so that's a 5 mil thread. So the tap drill is 4.2. You knew that. I'm starting the holes only, and then after I start the holes, I'll take off this booster and then I'll drill them through. We need to round the corners now. So what I have here is a tool I bought years ago. It's kind of like an end mill, except it's got a radius. We're going to take these boosters off the fixture. We're going to put a couple bolts through, hold that in the mill vise. Then by going back and forth, you see how that match, well, it's not a perfect match of the radius, but this is CNC. This is going to work fine on the boosters that we're making right now. Let's go to the mill and we'll see how well I can use this tool. I've got a very small ridge there, but I'll just see how my nail is catching that ridge. But I can file that off. That's not going to take much at all. So I've got a little bit there to file. See how my thumbnail hangs up? And then over here, don't have my good pointer. See how this one here is a little bit higher? So that's a pretty good average. A little bit of filing, but not much. Fresh out of the fixture. They got oil on them and stuff, but you get the idea. I have a small smooth file. I'm just going to do a little bit of blending. I'll call it blending. Not really taking much off at all. It's a pretty smooth file. So that's what it looks like. It's pretty smooth. No sharpness that I can see. So what I'm going to do now is I have to knock, this is pretty sharp on the edge. So I'm going to knock off all the corners, give them a little bit of a radius. And then I just got to take the burrs off there. I could hold this in the vise too, but there we go. This is anchor lube. It works well on aluminum for tapping. Put a little bit on there. There we go. So with my ichrometer, I want to hold it at a right angle. Gotta get it started. And that looks good. So then I just wind down. I got a spiral point tap, so I don't have to go back and forth. I can just go straight down and the chips all come out the bottom, and that's it. That hole is tapped. On the surface, we got a few little scratches, nothing major, but a little bit of Scotch-Brite. It'll polish it up fairly well. You can also use some fine sandpaper or emery cloth, like 400. So you can still see there's a few little marks there, but I'm not going for perfection right now. I'm just trying to show you how we would often finish up. Yeah, if I was building a show bike, I'd take some 400 paper and I'd sand out all those little marks there. But for this, it's fine. It'll work. And that's how we build a brake booster. That's how I used to do it. Thank you for watching. If you like, subscribe. That'd be great. And there's a couple links. If you're watching on a laptop, there's two little words. It says show more. If you click on those. If you're watching on a cell phone, there's a little arrow under the screen. If you click on that little arrow, that'll open up the links. We have shirts for sale. We have mugs, hoodies, and you can also buy us a coffee. And that'd be great. We both like good coffee. Thanks for watching. See you next week.